And I'll note you have 8 of your 9 commissioners without Melina.
Thank you. I see Jill coming in now, so that's awesome. Very good attendance today. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the September 13th meeting of the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency. We have a quorum of the board, so we'll go ahead and convene the meeting. Go ahead and do introductions for the record. So I'm Jim Cooper, chair from the city of Olympia. Greg
Brotherton, vice chair and Jefferson County Commissioner.
Dave
Tobin, Pacific County Commissioner.
Joan
Cathy, City of Tumwater.
Robin
Vasquez, City of Lacey.
Mike
French, Clallam County Commissioner.
Jill
Warney, Grace Harbor County Commissioner.
Randy
Netherland, Mason County Commissioner.
I think I got all the board members. So Jeff, will you introduce the staff?
Sure, we've got a good turnout today. So my name is Jeff Johnson, Executive Director from ORCAA, also joined by Robert Moody, Compliance Manager, Mark Gooden, Engineering Manager, Odell Hadley, our Senior Air Monitoring Specialist, Rob Weiland, Air Quality Specialist 2, Dan Nelson, Communications Manager, Lynn Harding, Financial Services Manager, Debbie Moody, our Office Manager and Public Records Officer, and then we've got a couple staff that are just listening in today. Tiffany Flores, our records clerk, Bryson Downs, Air Quality Specialist 1, and Chris Kraus, IT System Admin, is in the conference room listening in and also in case members of the public show up for the rule hearing. And Mike Schultz, Compliance Supervisor, is here with us as well.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And Matthew.
And Matthew Sonaby, counsel for ORCAA.
Great. All right. I think that covers everyone. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Jim, could we add a finance report into it? And then with that modification, finance committee report?
Yeah, I was going to call on you under chair reports because it's for
That's
any
fine.
committee chair. So okay,
all right, I'll move that we approve the agenda as presented then.
1 second.
Okay, motion by Greg, second by Robin. Any amendment or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Seconded by Jill. Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. By Jill, not Robin. Thank you.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for the catch, Robin. All right, so that takes us to chair report. And so I just say welcome back from a little summer break. And I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk about our finance committee meeting from this morning.
Thank you, Chair. We had a good finance committee meeting. I'll talk about the 2 issues that we discussed, and I encourage folks to go and get a lot more detail as in the documents that were attached to the finance committee meeting. You can find it on the ORCAA website, or Debbie can connect you with it. First, we talked about the fiscal year 2023 year-end report, and everything's kind of coming up roses there. To remind you, we had planned to borrow $216,522 from the reserve to accommodate some of the extraordinary expenses we had approved. And ultimately, we ended up not having to borrow that money or take that money out, but actually put $136,200 into the reserve. So I think that more than anything illustrates the robust health of our finances right now. The other thing that we discussed that is why people might want to go and look at the great report, financial report that or the impact that Lynn put together is Jeff and Lynn talked about succession planning and coming up with a couple new positions come January, and very, very soon we'll probably have budget appropriations. Yeah, and maybe Jeff can just take a moment to walk through maybe start actually there, the existing org chart, and talk about the high level, what you're talking about. And then if anyone has some questions about the financial implications of this, we'll deal with it over the years coming up in our normal budget process. But Lynn's done a great breakdown of what the impacts will be for this financial year, 2023. So Jeff, can you walk us through the changes you're proposing and that the
Sure.
finance committee supported, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. So let me just, before looking at the org chart, let me just say that, as I think a lot of you know, ORCAA is poised sort of at the verge of going through a lot of changes. We've got senior staff, I'd say in the next 2 to 3 years, 4, possibly 5 staff who are currently with us, and with over 100 years of collective ORCAA experience will be leaving the agency. And so, and again, with a small agency of 17 people, that's a pretty significant transition. And so succession planning is really important, and giving this a lot of thought and working with my team here. I've been sharing it with staff. So with that, let's move to the org chart. As you see on the screen is the current org chart. And the main thing to focus on is that right now we've got essentially 2 separate programs: an engineering program under Mark Gooden is the engineering manager, and then a compliance program where Robert Moody is the manager. So Robert is going to be leaving the agency at the end of January, and Mark is at this point planning on leaving at the end of April. So what I'm planning on doing, so Dan, if you can go to the next, is combine those 2 managers into a single manager position. There is a lot of overlap, a lot of coordination between those programs, and I feel that combining those positions, there's a lot of benefits. Other local heirs have this new structure, and I'm planning on borrowing and taking a close look at their job descriptions as I put together the new job description for this combined manager position. Of course, Mark and Robert both have more than full-time jobs right now, so that means that some of their duties will be flowing down to the compliance supervisor and the engineering supervisor positions. And so there's some trickle-down effects that I'm still working through, and frankly looking forward to working with a new compliance engineering manager on all these implications. But and as Greg mentioned, Lynn goes into detail in the financial implications of this in the materials that are attached to the finance committee agenda. But we're looking at filling a new inspector position here, possibly as early as the 1st of December. Be looking to fill this combined compliance and engineering position. Hopefully, I think optimistically, maybe by January 1. The other position I'm looking at filling right now is the financial analyst position that's over a little bit further to the left and is a direct report to Lynn. The agency really needs more support in our financial area, help with payroll, accounts payable, contracting, purchasing, that kind of thing. And so again, the costs of these are in the documents that you have access to. So with that, I'll stop. I see a question from Robin.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have any concerns about recruitment? Finding somebody who brings in the requisite experience in 2 functional areas instead of 1 to fill that new position?
Yes. I mean, I think it's something frankly, I'm really interested in getting the job description written and then getting it out there. I know that it's not that uncommon. As I mentioned, other locals have this structure. And so I think there are people out there with that experience. One of the things that's driving me to move this forward quickly is there's a conference. The local chapter of the Air and Waste Management Association is meeting in the area in late October. And so I'm want to be out for recruitment at that. I've been asked to be on a panel at that conference. And so I'm going to be there and going to be recruiting, talking about ORCAA and what a great organization we are, and come work with us. And so, but I'm hoping for a great candidate pool. I know there was likely some internal interest in the position, and I'm hoping for external interest as well. But I guess we'll see once we start recruiting.
Yeah, I asked the same question, Robin. I want to make sure we weren't looking for a unicorn. So. Okay, any other questions for Jeff right now? I'll just encourage folks to get with him. And if you have any questions or concerns about the financial side, it doesn't trigger the need for a budget amendment until late this year or late this calendar year or early next calendar year. But kind of this is all really within Jeff's bailiwick, the FTEs and the salaries within the budget. And so finance feels good about him going forward. And if any of the board has any concerns, they should, speak up or give him a nod so that we know we need to have more discussion at the board level before he moves forward. But just from my perspective, it's Jeff and I have been talking about needing to do some structural revision in this time of transition that's coming since really before he started in the seat. And so it's great to see this come forward to finance today.
And I'll just say one more thing and conclude the finance report, that it's not just about succession planning. The financial analyst is supposed to kind of buttress Lynn and learn the skills as well on the financial side, but it's also creating capacity. One of the things that was pointed out that Lynn is really encumbered from even taking vacation because of her requirement to be there, multiple times for A&R and all that stuff. So it seems like really prudent, kind of, two birds with one stone planning. So really appreciate it. And that concludes the finance report.
Thanks, Greg. Another high level observation is when we grow, the economy is growing overall. And so I think that's a good sign for the whole region. Hopefully you're seeing other signs of that at home. So, okay. Nothing further in the chair's report. We'll move to public comment. Don't see any public in my view. Dan, any notes or things from the public we should lift up?
We've received no comments that I'm aware of, and there's nobody in our attendance digitally, and I don't believe anybody in the conference room.
Okay, great. Then we'll move on from public comment and looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have Dave and then Greg with a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so that takes us to rule update and a public hearing for rule 1.1 and 1.12. And I apologize because I don't have it up, but I think I'm probably going to Robert. Is that right?
I assume so, yes.
Yes, he's the one. I'll have to figure that out later.
Good morning, all. So for some quick background for those of you that are new or don't recall, that this is a process that we go through annually here at ORCAA. It is a very routine nature because all we're doing is changing the date of rules that we have adopted, and both state and federal rules. In June of 2022, the board approved direction to staff to have this prepared and ready for annually for the September board meeting and a public hearing. So this is something that's, again, very routine in nature. In preparation for this hearing, ORCAA has completed a SEPA checklist. We have published in the 3 daily newspapers in our jurisdiction, and we've published in the Washington State Register. We have not received any comments. None were expected, and quite honestly, I don't think we've received any ever for the last almost a decade we've been doing this. So with that in mind, staff asks for a motion to approve the amended language for rules 1.11 and 1.12 as presented.
Okay. So Robert, just before I go to questions for clarification, so we have a public hearing. If there, deal with any comments if we get any, and then we would move to approve. We can move to approval or not right today.
Correct.
Okay, great. Any questions for Robert? My flip question is, how much does it cost every year to change the date?
You don't want to ask that question.
It's ridiculous. Anyway. Okay, so with no objection from the board, I'll open the public hearing on the rule update for ORCAA Rule 1.11 and 1.12. Pretend you heard a gavel. Is there any public comment?
Again,
Dan?
no public comment has been received and no one is in the digital room or the physical conference room.
Okay. Hearing no public comment, I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed and open it up for board discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the amended rules 1.11 and 1.12.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Robin, and a second from Greg. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, that's an aye for the affirmative. Your motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Robert. You'll have to do some training on that one.
We've already implemented that quite well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we'll go to Chica Peak. We have a presentation from Odell.
Before Odell jumps in, let me just say a few words, if I may. Just Odell is going to give us a quick update, I think, on the work that she's been doing. She's been spending majority of the past few weeks up above Nia Bay, up at the Chica Peak Observatory, and Odell has just been doing an outstanding job. This is just a huge amount of project management, and so particularly, I mean, this project has extended for actually it started before I joined ORCAA, just in terms of applying for the grants and things. So it's been an ongoing project, but the past few months in particular has really ramped up, and Odell has just done an outstanding job. And I know she's now sleeping a little bit better, knowing that things have come together and that it's mostly done at this point. So nice work, Odell, and please tell us a little bit about the results of all your hard work.
Okay, first off, can you hear me? Make sure
Yes.
I'm on the right microphone. I've got 3 options. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Mostly this is just a slideshow. So hopefully you're all looking at a beautiful shot that Dan took from up near Chica Peak of the views that we get from up there in the mountains. I'm going to start off with a little video that is from drone footage taken by Mickey from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network to give you an idea of the site and its remoteness. This is what the site looked like before we started any work on it. So I'm just going to play this for you for just a few seconds. I've included the links to all of his drone videos in this presentation, which we can make available after the presentation, but here you're looking at our current Encore trailer, the tower where we have a lot of our stuff, this old container's garbage, this old container's garbage, and this container is where the Improve network currently has their equipment. This is the geodetic array equipment, and then there's some seismic stuff over here. So just that's this is our before shot. And I'm gonna get rid of that and go into the next. So here's a ground level shot of the original site. What we kept this Encore trailer, and then the rest of this stuff needed to go. It was all installed sometime in the early 80s. This tower included, which required me to wear a climbing harness and climb up on that, or a fall protection harness, and climb up on that pretty regularly. And as it got older, I was getting less and less comfortable with that. So really happy that we got the grant to fix up the site. So we are losing a little bit of history here. You can see Dan Jaffe's lab. You can see Jimmy Werner, who's my predecessor. This is the walls inside this old container that we're getting rid of, with lots of people had written on the walls going back 30, 40 years. So a little bit sad to lose that. Yes, this is snakeskin hanging off of that pipe. Here is what the inside of that looked like last year. Prior to removal, these ceiling panels had caved in. There was rat or mouse poop all along these. So they did completely become infested. We were not using this, but you can still see active equipment was installed in here from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. So people were having to access this, and And, the hantavirus is rare, but it is out there. So there were some safety concerns with accessing these buildings with mice in them, and just the age. You can see some rusty bolts on the tower. So, in a marine environment, that was becoming concerning. And here's the tower itself. We accessed the top with a ladder and then had to climb up that. And yes, I did wear fall protection, but even with that, was not comfortable. So on August 17th, we got a new trailer, and here it is arriving in Olympia, and we had a crane remove that, and then we put the tires on, and they hauled that off. So this was a very exciting day for me to actually lay eyes on this new trailer that's been, I designed with the, it's custom designed for all of our needs, and to actually see it come to completion was just really exciting. So then on August 22nd, 24th, Rob joined me at Chicopeak for a little site prep before the contractors went up there to clean up the site. So we had to shut down all of our equipment. This is us inside the Encore trailer, making sure everything gets shut down. And then we had to go outside and clear a lot of brush and debris away from where the tires were and away from the trailers. It grows up real fast up there and gets pretty covered. And then our contractor brought the excavator up. So that was another exciting day because, well, excavators are cool. And then we had our contractor trench the site for electrical. So now we have electrical lines that are underground the way they're supposed to be. And we had a licensed electrician come in and power up these trailers. So now they are all to code and with robust electrical system, and you can see the excavator is covering up the lines there. And we replaced the electrical panel, which apparently the electrician had been up here, I think he said in 1998, and he had told Dan Jaffe that they needed to replace that electrical panel. That had not been done, so he was more than happy to do it for us now. And you can see now the nice new electrical panel there with the lines going underground. So and actually, I want to mention that when Dan Nelson came up to take pictures, he also was very concerned about that electrical panel and said, you guys really need to replace that. And I was like, yeah, we're going to do that. We had the road coming into the site graded and graveled. So now it looks really nice in this before picture, like a beautiful country road. But I got to tell you, in the winter, that got real muddy and really smushy. So glad to have the road cleared and graded. And now here is what it looks like. There's the before shot that Dan took a couple weeks before the week before going up to the site. And then now we've gotten rid of this trailer, we've gotten rid of this tower, and we've gotten rid of this trailer. The contractors have been really great. They've worked in a timely manner, and they've kept to our time scale. So I really, really appreciate that. We've moved our Encore trailer over here now, and you can see it sits up quite a bit higher over the ground. So one of the things we have left to do, I've ordered some stairs that have a platform on and will fit in between here. The new trailer sits down lower. You'll notice it has a roof railing around the top. So for safety, I no longer have to wear fall protection. That meets L&I requirements. So the new trailer, I just want to really highlight that. Here is our contractor hauling it in. It arrives on site. That was also very exciting to finally see that there. This is how we access the roof. It's an indoor ladder mounted with a roof hatch that comes up. So that's just a great improvement. And then here you can see we've installed all of our inlets coming in from the old Encore trailer for gases and for PM 2.5. Here's Rob helping me install the NOY inlet. I really want to give a shout out to Rob here. Just this Tuesday, you'll see there is not a blue sky here. It pretty much rained or misted rained all day. And while I sat inside this heated trailer trying to make the instruments communicate with each other, because that's my skill set, poor Rob was out on the roof installing all of these inlets and getting quite wet, although it wasn't super cold. So he was a good sport about it. And I just really appreciate that. And then the last thing I want to point out here is this tower right here is our new meteorology tower. It's a telescoping met tower. So you can see these 3 levels. There's a crank down at the bottom that attaches to a drill. And you just take the drill and you crank that thing up to height, and it gets up quite high. And then when you need to service or take down the thing, you just crank it right back down. So no more climbing of towers or anything, no more wearing fall protection. Super, super excited about this Met Tower. And I've played with it a little bit and it glides. It's all on a pulley system and it just works beautifully. So here is our final shot of what the site looks like. And I'm gonna end with another little bit of drone footage. You can see Mickey there is actually flying the drone, and he did this before we installed all of our inlets here. So here you can see the tower that will be extended up quite high once it's fully extended, but we still need to put guy wires on it and bolt it to the trailer where it's attached, and the contractors will be on site this Friday to do that. So there are a few things left that we need to do. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, I will be helping some researchers from UC Davis move these 4 inlets, which are the improved site. They will go here in this tower and move into the new trailer. And then this shed we decided to keep as a storage shed. So it's no longer powered, but we will store the ladders and the spare tires and just kind of like a garden supply shed for the site. So we did decide like this stuff lying around on the ground. All right, so I'm gonna end with this drone footage, a little clip of that so you can kind of see what the whole site looks like with the new setup, and just a lot cleaner, and then the clearing so we won't have to clear away brush and trees for a while, which is pretty nice. That's a lift, and you can kind of get a sense of where it's located on the mountain here. And yeah, if you have any questions, there's still a little bit of work to do, but it looks pretty good. Oh, look, there I am running to take a picture.
Oh no, what's the green tube sticking up that looks like a garbage can or R2D2 on top?
Oh, that is part of the geodetic array system. This little like concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a, I'm not really sure, but it has to do with seismology and geology measurements. It's part of the Panga system, which is, I'd have to Google that. It's one of the other sites. So I guess it's important to note that the site is home to now 5 national network sites. So Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has their equipment up there. So they're measuring for early earthquake warnings. Super important site. Panga is the geodetic. I'm just gonna Google that real quick. Geodesy research. So it's out of Central Washington University in Ellensburg. And it stands for the Pacific Northwest Geodetic Array. Consists of the Panga Geodesy Laboratory at Central Washington University and 350 continuously operating high precision GPS sites across the Pacific Northwest. So that's a GPS, that's one of their sites. We also have the improved site, which is the interagency monitoring for protected visual environments. And finally, University of Washington, as part of a national network site, and we've talked about this before, has installed Ascent instruments there as well. So I think that the site is finally starting to look like it should for that many important research sites.
And it might be worth noting that just 100 yards away at the top of the plateau is the huge array for the FAA.
Yeah, I actually think I have that. I think he has a shot of that. I'm going through. I thought he did.
So, but yeah, the bottom line is it's a very well used, very important communications platform for a number of local, state, and national and international communications and researches.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm just gonna show that real quick, Dan, because there we go. You can see that there. So here's our site down here, and then up here is the site that Dan is talking about, the FAA site.
And you can't show us the missile silo, I guess, either. Just kidding.
You know, unfortunately. Hey, we are a peaceful organization up here. It's all peaceful work. All right, so can we stop sharing? There we go. All right.
Great. Any questions, comments for Odell? Great work. I know you've been wanting to get into that for a long time, and it looks great. It's a wonderful improvement. I'm glad there's so much safety aspect to it as well. It makes me.
Oh, yeah, and Courtney's really happy. The ORCAA operator for the improved site that was working out of that other old building, which has really got some problems as well. Mice have gotten in there as well. So she's really excited to be out of that and not having to work out of that building anymore either.
Is the access gated or is it subject to vandalism?
It is gated, but we have locks on all of the trailers. So, I mean, someone could park at the gate and easily, it's not fenced, I guess is my point. It's very easy to just walk around the gate, but it's harder to drive in. So the FAA site is gated. There's a gate that prevents people from driving to either of our site. And then the FAA site has a second gate. But we keep all of the trailers locked as well. So I have seen people up there that should not be up there, and I usually report that to the tribe and they know that, but we have not had anybody access the trailers or vandalize anything. So it's been safe for a long time.
Good.
Cool. Looks like an opportunity for more partnership.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. And great work. So then that takes us to our director's reports. We'll go to Robert for compliance.
Well, we have the compliance report package there. Obviously, you can see by the numerous pages that the staff has been very busy in the last month or 2 months, I guess, technically. Of news as you're looking through that, after much toil, it takes 6 months these days to find a car apparently, but the agency has purchased a 2023 Hyundai Elantra for our fleet. It is somewhat regrettably a gasoline only engine, but it does get an estimated 42 miles per gallon on the highway, which is most of what the travel is we do the inspector side. It will be replacing a 2006 rather aged Scion XB, which will be sold. And then the other tidbit is we are preparing for the tentative opening of outdoor burning in October. ORCAA summer burn restrictions here in Thurston County, will end September 30th. But these summer burn bans are determined by the Department of Natural Resources and the county fire marshals. So I believe Dan has more on this topic. Are there any questions of activities in all that list there for me?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That takes us to engineering. Mark.
Good morning. Okay, we have tab B5, and maybe Dan could or Chris could pull that up on the screen, and that lists all the industrial and commercial air permit applications that we have in-house. Above that dark blue line are the ones that went out the door since the last, or actually in August. Those are the ones that became final. And so please take a look at that. And if you have any questions for the projects in your area, I would love to hear from you and answer your questions. We've got the applications are quite large, but for today, I'd like to highlight a couple of projects that I think are particularly interesting. And just to let you know that we are definitely out of a very short-term lull in the permitting, new project permitting arena here. We definitely have for the myself and three other permit writer engineers with the agency, we've got full plates. So I'm just going to go down over these. We have it at the near the city of Hoquiam, the Pacific Northwest Renewable Energy Project, which is a proposal for a new pellet manufacturing facility. It's going to be located close to the city of Hoquiam, right by an existing chip manufacturing facility called Willis Enterprises, and very close to the airport there. This facility is noteworthy because it will be another major source of emissions. Okay, so if you recall, there's two big boxes. There's minor sources of air emissions. There's major sources of air emissions. When this project gets approved and built, it will be a major source of air emissions, and not just particulate. It'll be major for oxides of nitrogen, carbon monoxide, and particulate. So it's gonna be a big facility, and we have an application in-house right now. A particular interest, they've asked us to expedite this permit. They would like us to get our approval out sometime in November. And so we do have some flexibility to be able to just put work towards and prioritize their permit application. They've asked, and so we are considering it. The project will go to a 30-day public notice and comment period, and what we're recommending is that the project proponent automatically request a public hearing so that we can piggyback the comment period with the public hearing notice and save some time there. So if for the board, please expect a public hearing on this project in the October-November time period if all goes well. Okay. I could tell you that the application looks good right now. It's got everything that we want to see in the way of air pollution controls. We're still going back and forth on a few things, and we still need to put our magnifying glass to their ambient air quality analysis to make sure they're not going to jeopardize any of the national ambient air quality standards. So that's still to come, but the project overall looks good. They've got the air pollution controls that we wanted to see from the get-go. So that's one of them. Then right
Mark,
next.
Quick logistical question on that. Is the public hearing a staff level one or a board level one?
Well, thanks for asking that, Jim, because in the past, if you recall, the ORCAA executive director, the board would appoint ORCAA's executive director as the hearings examiner. And back in the day, Fran would preside over those hearings as the hearings examiner. So I've talked with Jeff and I let him know that, hey, this is coming. And I think it would, to make it very clean, it would require, the board's direction to Jeff to serve as the hearings examiner. And then from then on, then it can be handled by Jeff and ORCAA staff. And the invite will certainly go out to every board member, and they're definitely welcome. In past cases, we've had a good turnout of ORCAA board members, so they could keep abreast of what's going on in the region and in their jurisdiction. So
So that would happen in Grays Harbor County?
That our unwritten policy is to have it as local as possible and as accessible as possible to the general public, especially the working public.
Okay. So I'll just ask Jeff and council to make sure we do what we need to do. I feel like your job description already says hearings examiner, but let us know what we need to do for that.
Jeff, did you have a question? Saw your hand up. Okay, apparently not. Okay, so the next one on the list is right next door, Hoquiam Plywood. The plywood, a little facility that's actually quite big. They have near major emissions. They're adding a new boiler, a gas-fired boiler, and they're really anxious for their approval. To the south, Weyerhaeuser Raymond will be installing a direct-fired continuous lumber dry kiln, which has significant amounts of formaldehyde and phenol and other air emissions. That triggers an air permit review ahead of time. And then here in Olympia, Crown Cork and Seal, which is already a major source of emissions and has been through our process many times. They have submitted an application for approval of a new reformulated inside spray lacquer. Okay, Crown Cork and Seal manufactures aluminum cans, and they've been around for quite some time, and they spray coat the inside of these cans as part of their process. Well, the lacquer, even though it does not contain a huge percentage of air toxics, by the sheer number of cans going through that facility, they're a major source. And so a reformulation, meaning changing of the ingredients of this lacquer, it triggers an air permit. We need to review the consequences of the impacts. They're in quite a tight fit with residential areas nearby, so we're handling that. And Jennifer DeMay is the engineer assigned to that. She's doing a great job reviewing that, and as well as the other issues with Crown Cork and Seal. And then we have Lakeside Industries, or an asphalt plant, or asphalt and manufacturing company. They've got facilities throughout ORCAA's jurisdiction, and they actually constructed a asphalt pellet manufacturing facility in South Thurston County. And this is a facility that takes recycled asphalt shingles and mixes it with aggregate and some other ingredients and makes these pellets that they can then sell. So they built without our approval, and this is again one of those cases we found out after the fact, and they're playing catch-up ball here with their air permit. The nice thing about this case is that they actually shut down the plant. So the plant, to my knowledge, I was told that the plant was shut down, and to let the air permitting process come to completion here. So that's a case we're dealing with. As far as, and these are cases where there's an application already in house. And then we have a few planned projects that I think are worthwhile making mention to the board here. AGP at the Port of Grays Harbor. This is the big grain handling facility. They've already got a large facility there. Well, the Port of Grays Harbor has a Terminal 4 expansion and redevelopment project, and AGP will be constructing a brand new additional grain terminal at Terminal 4 at the Port of Grays Harbor. So this will put them most likely in the major source box. Okay, they're currently a minor source of particulate emissions. It will now be a major source after this project. So we'll get yet another major source of emissions. Then we have Westport Shipyard out in the city of Westport. They are submitting an application to become a minor source of emissions by accepting a voluntary limit on emissions. And this is a procedure that's allowed under the Washington Clean Air Act, whereby a facility could take voluntary limits, thereby rendering them a minor source of emissions and therefore not subject to the Title V Air Operating Permit Program, which applies to the major sources of emissions. So that's going to be another project that's a big deal. And then lastly, Panel Tech, which is at the Port of Grays Harbor. They're one of these companies that makes specialty panels with resins and paper and wood products. They are an existing major source of emissions because of their use of the resins, and the ingredients in those resins emit toxic air pollutants. They're installing a new boiler and a third resin kettle, which is a large container that they use to actually formulate the resins. And so we're expecting that application in shortly. Those are just the noteworthy ones. There's a whole slew of minor ones for small things like gas stations and whatnot. So that's the end of my report. And again, please ask questions if you have any questions from our tab B5 on the board report.
Thanks, Mark. Jeff?
Yeah, can you hear me now? I was having audio
Yes.
issues before. Okay, great. Thank you. So I just add to what Mark said, and thanks, Mark, for that summary. As Mark indicated, our engineers are very busy right now. Just to put things in perspective, in all of the last fiscal year, we brought in less than $69,000 in NOC fees. That was quite a bit below what we had projected. We were definitely in a bit of a downturn. But just in less than 3 months this year, we've already received over $62,000 in permit fees. So things are definitely on the upswing. So our permit engineers are very busy and will be busy for the coming months. So.
And Jeff, can you, is there anything you wanted to add on the public hearing and the hearings examiner component?
No, I will look at that. If I remember right, I'll look at the bylaws again, but I think it does specify that that I can be the hearings officer. So anyway, we'll look at that. And if we need a formal, if we need to do something formal, we could do that at the October meeting in advance of any hearing in late October or November.
Okay.
We should ask our attorney, but there were lawsuits that were saying that we had formally given responsibilities, and they were saying that wasn't good enough. But I think what we're talking about is just having a formal thing to say he is the one we're giving the responsibility to, not just that it's in his job description, that it's him in particular. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. So we'll have to make sure Jeff and the attorneys bring us what we need to make that work. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? It sounds like a boom in Grays Harbor County when you listen to that report. It's really exciting. That's a good place for jobs. So, and then I just had one higher level question. So I've been on this board 12 years, and it feels like in the last 2 or 3, there's been a fairly high rate of global companies just not applying for air permits. And so is there an issue nationally? Is there some ability for us to partner with the sister agencies in the state on some education, or with the EPA Because I mean, to me, that's like they've just decided it's a cost of doing business to not apply.
Yes, actually, Jim, it's been about the same rate as far as companies that have retroactively asked for air permit applications. However, at the same time, I think the agency has ramped up outreach. Lauren Wybrew from our group just participated in a Meet Your Regulators seminar, which was put on by the Air and Waste Management Association, where businesses in the Puget Sound region could ask a panel of regulators any question they want, and Lauren gave a presentation there and answered questions there. This year, we've always participated in events that are outreach events, but this year is particularly noteworthy. We have the Pacific Northwest International section of the Air and Waste Management Association conference that Jeff mentioned, and we have 4 presentations by ORCAA at that conference. In the past, we've had maybe one, or we generally always attend it. This is noteworthy because we have Jeff giving a presentation, Lauren giving 2, and myself giving 1. So that's another area. And then I know Dan and Jeff have been really busy meeting with local municipalities and getting the word out as far as air permits and across the board, asbestos permits, air permits. We recently met with the city of Olympia, one of their building officials. His first name's Eric, his last name eludes me right now, but we had a really good talk. And so there's stuff going on, and I think it's been escalating since Jeff has come on board here.
Okay, good, thank you. And I'll just point out that Robert shared the rule around in the chat around appointment of a hearing officer. So our rule says we need to, or it's the board. So I just look for, from our executive director and our lawyer, what, if that can just be a simple motion or if we need to pass a resolution or something.
We will look at that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mark. All right, I'm going to Rob for air monitoring.
Okay, before I'm going to introduce Rob. So Rob has been helping me out and really taking on.
Oh, you muted, Odell.
Yeah, the host muted me, so I'm not sure why Dan did that, but maybe it's a hint. Yeah. So I just wanted to introduce Rob Weiland. He is a compliance AQS2, I believe. And Robert Moody was kind enough to give me, I don't know, 10 to 20% of his time to maintain and operate most of our monitoring sites in our different counties, which has been a great help. And so we've been doing that for the last 1.5 years, and he's just really stepped up and been amazing and incorporates those site visits into when he's got inspections, and it's a great fit. So today Rob is going to give the monitoring report. So that's his next phase in training to help out with the monitoring program. I just want to reiterate that his help at Chesapeake the last couple of weeks was invaluable, not just to me, but also to UW. One of his skills is to not overthink the problem. So as scientists, oftentimes we are looking for complicated solutions, and he solved 2 major problems up at Chesapeake without overthinking it. One of them was the UW graduate student couldn't get her instrument to turn on, and we were looking for dead fuses and, you know, getting out our multimeters. And Rob says, well, what does this big red button do? And she says, oh, it's nothing. It's the emergency stop button. So Rob pulled that out and everything turned on. So it's just been great to have different perspectives. Sometimes you need people from different backgrounds, and I just really have been happy and so pleased that he agreed to take this role on, and today he's going to give our monitoring report, and I think he's going to do a great job. So without further ado, Rob Weiland, take it away.
All righty, thank you. That was quite the introduction, Adele. I appreciate it. It's been fun working with you and learning the monitoring side of things. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So just going forward, Dan, if you go next slide, please. So this is just the summary for July. You see we have 2 months, so I'm going to catch you guys up on 2 months here. So for July, for PM 2.5, there were a couple moderate days. July 5th was the peak for those days, for that month, excuse me. And then also noteworthy is the Raymond site was down for a couple of days during the month. We were upgrading some of the equipment to make it more user-friendly. Slide. Going into August for PM 2.5, again, there were some moderate days. There was one day for unhealthy for sensitive groups due to some wildfire smoke in our area. Of note, this was the month that we started to take CPO offline. You know, as Adele mentioned in her brief earlier, so you see, you know, not a lot of data for that month there. And then again, Raymond at the beginning of this month was also down. Slide. Just a graphic of the wildfire smoke in our area. Hurricane Hillary is down there in the corner, bringing some much needed rain into our area. I think the date there is when this picture was taken. Slide. Ozone for July, you know, remained under the federal standard throughout this month, kind of presenting this in a different format, similar to the PM 2.5 here, but good across the board. Slide. And then going to August, CPO again went offline, and then the ozone in Lacey was pretty close to being in the moderate category. It was 0.5 ppb away from bumping up into that moderate classification there, but again, it still stayed below the federal standard. Slide. And just some other information regarding the monitoring program here. So quarterly checks were performed at the various locations there. Again, Raymond giving us kind of a headache. I believe myself, Mike Schultz, Odell, and then an individual from ecology ended up having to go out there to kind of troubleshoot and fix that problem. The Grays Harbor saturation study that Odell has mentioned in previous reports is basically complete, and then the report to follow. As I mentioned, the Raymond site was kind of the bane of our existence for a little bit. And then Odell should be finishing up the CPO stuff here in the next couple of months. So that is it. Hope I didn't let you down, Odell. If you got any questions, I would direct them to probably Odell, but I might be able to answer some of those. So thank you.
Thank you, Rob. You did a great job. Anyone want to try and stump Rob?
Ooh,
this is your
please don't. Yeah, please don't.
Okay,
not singing. Okay, yeah. Let's move it along.
Good job. Thank you. It was very well done.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to Dan with communications.
So I'd say definitely direct any questions to Rob, if only because he's a great guy to sit and chat with. I had a great time. He was a great aid to me, as well as a lot of the other staff at Harbor Days Festival a couple weeks ago. Rob spent a considerable amount of time out there Friday afternoon and until 9:30 at night, and then back again Saturday and Sunday mornings with me. So definitely, if you have to spend time in the hot sun and later in the wind and rain with somebody, Rob is a good one to do it with. So feel free to call and chat with him and take up some of his time. But Harbor Days was a great event. We had a lot of really good communications and conversations with people. Not all productive, but all positive and rewarding. We had differences of opinions at times with people, but everybody left with respect and understanding of what ORCAA does. So that's always a good thing. And that's why we're out in the community and trying to show what we're doing to help not only the individuals, but the businesses within our community. So looking forward to many more years of Harbor Days and other public events such as that. So, and again, I want to call out all the staff for considerable support and participation out there. Most of the compliance team, engineers, the admin, the entire admin section, from Lynn, Debbie, and Jackie, our front office person, and our newest employee, Tiffany, were all participants and did a great job. So kudos to everybody at ORCAA for helping out. Also, Jeff was out there, and Jeff also went above and beyond and put himself on camera for the agency with the Coffee with a Commissioner, local Thurston County broadcast, sat in with your fellow board member, Commissioner Molina, and did a great job. I have to say it was fantastic finally to have a executive director. I don't know what kind of media training he's done, but he was great at continually bringing the conversation back on topic if there was any drift. So he was a consummate media professional, and it was wonderful to realize I have that as somebody to work with and trust to go talk to the media and represent the agency really well. So thank you, Jeff, for great work there. And I think he's sharing the link to that video on YouTube. We also promoted our do-it-yourself box fan filter video we shot here in-house and produced and shared on YouTube. And that's been a pretty successful, pretty popular hit during that thankfully brief wildfire smoke event we had earlier this fall or late summer. Robert mentioned the imminent return of outdoor burning season. We do have fire safety burn bans still in place in all 6 counties. Those are called by the local fire districts and the fire marshals. They're not ORCAA burn bans, but they do impact our programs, and we do work in coordination with all those fire agencies to help promote and educate people about those burn bans. So we get a lot of calls. We get a lot of misinformation. We get a lot of people that think, oh, we had 1/10 of an inch of rain, so it's safe to burn now. But those burn bans are still in place. We do have the Thurston County seasonal burn ban in our rule at the request of the fire districts in the past. So even though that's scheduled to go off September 30th, our rule does not supersede the county fire marshal's directives. So if the county fire marshal decides that burn ban needs to be extended, that will be extended. So I'll be in touch with Josh Cummings at Thurston County and making sure that we're doing the best thing we can for the fire safety of our communities. And then finally, on our wood stove replacement and recycling grants, I did have a conversation yesterday with my colleagues at the State Department of Ecology. They've been slow to get those grants processed, but it looks like we will have that replacement program funded no later than October 1st and hopefully retroactive to September 1st, so we can start to get our HVAC folks and our community interested people moving forward with projects now. September is a big month for changing heating systems. It's nice enough weather. People are happy to open up their homes, pull out their old units and put in new ones. They don't need to worry about staying warm during the day and whatnot when we're looking at 80-degree temperatures again this weekend. So we want to make sure people are able to do that when the weather's nice and the timing is right. So the good news there is we will have funding. We're not quite sure exactly what level, but it should be pretty much tracking with what we have in our budget. We actually asked for more than we added in the budget, knowing there was some back and forth with the state. So we should be pretty much on target with the budgeted numbers, and the program improvements that we planned have been approved. So we will be able to allow replacements in all of Mason County, in Clallam County, and Jefferson County to the east. Excuse me, the east ends of those counties. So everything east of Elwha River and the Olympic National Park in Jefferson.
Nice. Okay. Any questions for Dan? It's great to see that program expanding. Nice work. Okay, that takes us to finance. Lynn.
All right, well, good morning all, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. And so in the finance department, there's definitely been a lot of activity, starting with our office building improvements to wrapping up the year end, starting a new year, keeping up to date with the changes happening in the accounting arena, whether it be how to calculate compensated absences, to documenting all our leases and software, to providing staff options for greater health and safe, and motivating us with wellness. So starting with, over the past couple months, ORCAA has had completed a number of building projects. The new gutter system was completed early June, including the replacement of a number of fascia boards, and those are the boards that are found on the edges of the roof, usually supporting the gutter system. And of course, over time, they can rot or require some replacement. So we did replace about a half a dozen of those. And by the way, the building was built in 1987. Excuse me, for those who don't know. Following the gutter system in August, we moved on to the exterior siding project. So on the east wall, we had a section of siding that had to be replaced, 8 feet by 11 feet. This was due to the failed gutter system. So we had to replace the gutter system before replacing the siding. And specifically, there was one 60-foot section of our gutter system that was improperly placed smack in the middle of the wall. No rhyme or reason, we don't know, we don't care, but it's been removed. And that's what caused the water damage and requiring us to replace a section of the siding. And what made it even more challenging, the area that was damaged was located between our HVAC units and the building, making it more challenging to access and fix or replace. Luckily, we had a contractor that was awarded the contract, finding that there was no structural damage. You don't know until you uncover the siding, and I was optimistic that they were not going to find any structural, so I didn't increase what I thought the estimate would be. Anyhow, the project came in slightly under budget, which was great, and no structural issues, which is even more important good news. At the end of August, beginning of September, we replaced the reception area floor, roughly about 400 square feet. We removed the aged carpet, laminate flooring, and replaced it with a waterproof luxury vinyl flooring. And we also reconfigured the front office counter and secretarial desk for improved ergonomics for staff who sit there. And oh, there we go. Thanks, Dan, for showing the pictures. So it's improved ergonomics for staff at the desk, allowing for standing or sitting. Now there's a hardworking crew who completed the demo. We also had some minor wiring for communications done. Just a lovely picture. It's really inviting. We're still looking at finishing the painting. We started off just painting 2 of the half walls there. We're going to go all the way around the front now. And
looks like you need art.
Oh yes. Well, Jackie will be placing her pictures back up. But if y'all have any pictures you'd like to share, and if they're clean, and we're happy to maybe place them in the front. So we've also relocated. Thank you, Dan. These are great. We've also relocated our archive room where the size in our new location should be sufficient to hold all of our files in one location versus multiple locations right now. And Debbie and Tiffany were successful purchasing and finding 6 large file cabinets from the state surplus for $300. So someone else paid full price. ORCAA did not. So, and they're still, yes, so.
They should have paid you to take them away.
So staff are really happy with their find. The movement's going to be taking place starting this Friday with our weightlifting crew. So we're anxious to get that started. So the projects that are out for bid and will be going out for bid include our exterior camera system. We're currently waiting on a receipt of bids, which the due date is this Friday. And this involves replacing our 8 cameras, installing new cabling, and pulling the cabling from the exterior to our server room. And we've also included, please make sure that the cameras are vandal proof because 2 of them were stolen, and waterproof. And lastly, easier viewing capacity by a remote. Right now, Jeff and Chris have access to the cameras. So hopefully this will be completed, hopefully by mid to late October. And then the next public works project includes replacing 1 to 2 HVAC units. 1 unit came with the building purchase. And with the age of the building being 36 years old, they don't make HVAC units like they used to anymore, right? They give you a much shorter lifespan, not 36 years, maybe 1/3 of that, if. So we've already replaced 3 of the furnaces, so we're looking at replacing 2 more. Next is a wellness update. I want to at least quarterly provide the board with, there's requirements with the Well City that we receive and get recognition for in exchange for that 2% medical reduction. And staff are gearing up for a new challenge in October, namely the Recharge Challenge. And this is something new. The Recharge is an interactive challenge to improve better behavioral health. We all need some improvement with our, mindfulness, and it's a team-based challenge to help participants with skill building, positive thinking, and social support. And all staff, also this week, all staff recently conducted and participated in a salsa war. We got to really put, make it fun. It also brings staff together on a different level. So you're leaving work for a few minutes and coming together. And our wellness committee works hard during the year, plans various activities, provide employees options for improved better health. And, that's where our mission comes in, to motivate and build healthier lifestyles through education, activities, and actions. And we're serious about it. So a special thank you to our committee, Erin Manley, Tiffany Flores, Chris Kraus, and myself. And so they work hard. Special thanks. Look forward to moving forward on our staff succession planning and new hires. Thank you for your support. And lastly, Jim, I think we still have your coffee cup from June. So it's being circulated around the office. So whenever you want it back, let us know.
Hey, Lynn,
Jeff gave it to me yesterday, and Jackie said I owe a ransom. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for y'all. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Questions for Lynn? Pay off a building and we have a public works department.
Thank you.
Robin?
I just wanted to comment that I'm excited to hear that you're doing work to build a great culture for the organization. I think that culture already exists, but it's the kind of thing that you want to foster and continue to support. So thanks for your work. Those little things, those little opportunities for connection can make a huge difference in how people feel about them.
Agreed. Thanks, Robin. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay. Last but not least, we'll go to Jeff for the executive director's report.
Okay, great. Can you hear me okay? I've been having some weird AV
Yes.
issues. My internet's been cutting in and out, so hopefully it'll be stable for the last couple minutes of the meeting. Just as you can hear, we've been very busy, got a lot going on, but a few things to add. I and others, as you've heard, have been doing some outreach to folks. So I guess the past couple of months, we've had conversations with folks from City of Port Angeles, from Mason County, heard about the conversation with Eric Jensen from the City of Olympia. Also met last week with Aaron Berg from Port of Port Townsend, just to, again, kind of coordinate, let folks know, again, being a small agency with a very large jurisdiction, these collaborations and coordinations are really important. And so if you have, again, if just an ongoing invitation, if there's folks that you're aware of in your spheres and in the counties or cities that you think it's important that ORCAA connect with, please let us know. And one area where I would like to deepen our connection is in the area of working with our local health agencies. We certainly have some connections with them, but this is something that came up at last week's discussion of all of the air directors from the 7 local air agencies and Department of Ecology, and Northwest Clean Air Agency and the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency. We're talking about the close work that they do with their local health, with their local health jurisdictions. And so again, if you've got thoughts on, Jeff or ORCAA should connect with the director of the local health, if you could help put me in touch with those folks. Of course, there's wildfire smoke related communication, but there's other things as well. I really see ORCAA as ultimately we're a public health agency, and so that coordination and collaboration is important. So please reach out if you have any suggestions there or ideas about how we can make those connections. Let's see. Next thing, I just wanted to mention that ORCAA recently participated in a cyber checkup with the state auditor's office. They've got a program, and so Chris Kraus, ORCAA's IT system administrator, went through this process. He completed a survey and went through a couple meetings with SAO cybersecurity experts. We were evaluated in 20 different aspects in 7 different areas, and I'm really pleased with how the agency did. We came out strong in 12 of them. There are, I think, were 5 of them where it needs improvement, but it was things that we're already doing, but just need to document things and have sort of formal written processes. So Chris and I are already working on those things, and there were some areas that we haven't yet implemented around multi-factor authentication, as an example, but we are looking at doing that. We've recently upgraded our domain controller here in the agency, so that's something we're going to be doing soon. So I was pleased with how we came out on that, and again, we are paying a lot of attention to that cybersecurity, because that's a big deal. Next thing I wanted to mention is, so back in August, the Municipal Research Services Center, or MRSC, I think most folks are probably familiar with MRSC, ran an article recommending that local governments move to what the article calls action minutes. So basically minutes that capture what is done, not what is said at a meeting. So this is something that I'm interested in doing. I've talked a little bit with Jim, and he's supportive. And so you'll see the minutes from both the Finance Committee earlier and this meeting. They're going to be a lot shorter, and we'll capture the decisions that we've made, what's done, but not so much of the conversation. The idea is that there's the Zoom recordings. One of the things that Debbie is going to be doing in the minutes is capturing like time stamping. So in the agenda, when did we move on? Say, when did we do the Chica Peak observation start at minute 12 or something? So if you're interested in following up and hearing what was actually said, you can go to the Zoom recording. But frankly, that'll make the minutes shorter and I think more efficient use of ORCAA staff time. So just wanted to mention that, and hopefully you'll all support that. Are there any questions on that before I move on to my next item? Okay, well then, assuming that we've got support for that, so. All right, let's see. Next thing I wanted to mention is that starting this week, I'm participating in a program called Leadership Thurston County. Some of you are probably familiar with that, but it's a program run by the Thurston Chamber of Commerce. I was encouraged to apply by a number of other program graduates and as well as board members of the program. So it is a commitment. So starting this week, so actually all day tomorrow and Friday, I'll be part of the group, and then it's one day, about one day a month from now through June. And so I'll be participating in that, but I'm excited because I think it will help deepen my connection with the community, at least here in Thurston County, my connection, but also the agency's connection with Thurston County. And let's see, the next thing I want to mention, again, I'll put something in the chat. I don't know if folks are interested in this, but EPA is looking for nominations for Local Government Advisory Committee. Let me put a little bit of information, including there was a note or a link to the Federal Register notice. Oops, sorry, I'm having trouble. Again, my computer is acting strange. So maybe I'll, rather than putting this in the minutes in the chat, maybe I'll follow up with an email with a couple things. But if you are interested in serving on an EPA committee that looks at not only air issues but other environmental issues, just wanted to make sure that you were aware of this. And then the last thing I'll mention is just was attached to the agenda. We do have the board agenda planner, so that has a look at the items that we've got coming up in future meetings. So take a look at that. If you have suggestions for topics that you would like to see discussed at the board meeting, please let me know. So I'll stop there, unless there are any questions.
Okay, a lot in the report, and I'm interested in the EPA panel, Jeff, so I don't know if there's a way to support applications for board members that are interested or not, or if we just do that on our own.
Yep, let me try again. Oh, well, yeah, so it's not having my cutting and pasting, but also I'll follow up with an email with information about this. But so that's good to hear that you're interested, Jim, and so happy to talk with you a little bit more about this.
Okay. And then I just had a question, Jeff. Several times we've mentioned that the conference for our national associations local, is it an appropriate thing for board members to register for, some or all of, to get some of that national understanding and takeaway if we're free?
Sure, I could, in my follow-up email, I can certainly include information about, so what's the meeting that's come up a couple times is what's called the Pacific Northwest International section of, so it's the local section of the National Air and Waste Management Association. And so this group, so that includes Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, and British Columbia, perhaps Alberta. So that's why it's international section. But they meet, so they have annual meetings. This year, the meeting is up, I believe, on the Suquamish Reservation. So it's up, I think, North Kitsap County. But it's certainly an opportunity to learn more about the kinds of work. It's very focused on air quality. There's some other topics as well, but I can certainly send a link to the meeting if anybody's interested in learning more about it. Cool. Or perhaps attending it for a day or something.
Yeah. I think anytime there's local education, some people might be interested. So great. Okay. Anything else for Jeff? Lots of great updates today. I feel like we're moving and shaking. We're in a progress mode and making big improvements to our organization and our facilities, which is good all around, and saving money at the same time. So, okay, anything for the good of the order? All right, then we will see you October 11th. Hearing no further business before the ORCAA board, we are adjourned. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.